I still remember the sound of the lock clicking behind me. My own lock, my own house, the house my late husband built with his own hands 40 years ago. "Don't even think about coming back, you crazy old woman," Jessica's voice rang out from inside. "My daughter-in-law, the woman my son brought home 5 years ago, the woman I welcomed with open arms, the woman I trusted with everything." It was 2 a.m. I was standing on my front porch in my nightgown and slippers, my hands shaking, my heart pounding. Through the window, I could see her. She was wearing my robe, sitting in my chair, sipping from my favorite coffee mug. She saw me looking and smiled. Then she slowly drew the curtains shut. I stood there in the cold March air, trying to process what had just happened. 6 hours earlier, I'd been inside that house, safe, warm, believing I was helping family. Now I was locked out with nothing but my phone in my pocket. But here's what Jessica didn't know. That phone, it was connected to everything. And I mean everything. Let me back up. I should probably start from the beginning. My name is Margaret. I'm 68 years old, and I've lived in Portland, Oregon my whole life. My husband Robert died 3 years ago from cancer. We had one son, David. David was our whole world. We raised him right, or so we thought. Good education, good values, good heart. Then he met Jessica. I remember the day he brought her home. She was 29, 15 years younger than him. Beautiful, I'll give her that. Long blonde hair, perfect smile, knew exactly what to say. She called me Mom from day one. She'd hug me, tell me how lucky David was to have such a wonderful mother, how she hoped to be just like me someday. I wanted to love her. God, I wanted to love her so badly. After Robert died, David was all I had left. And if David loved her, then I would too. They got married 6 months later. Small ceremony, just family and close friends. I paid for most of it. David was between jobs at the time, and Jessica worked part-time at a boutique. "Just until we get on our feet," she'd said, squeezing my hand. "We'll pay you back every penny, Mom." I didn't care about the money. I cared about family. After the wedding, things started to change, slowly at first. Jessica stopped calling as often. When they did visit, she'd spend the whole time on her phone. She'd make little comments. "This house is so outdated, Mom. Don't you think it's time to downsize?" Or, "At your age, shouldn't you be thinking about senior living? It's safer." I brushed it off. Maybe she was stressed. Maybe I was being sensitive. David seemed happy, and that's what mattered. Then Robert's life insurance came through. $500,000. I didn't need it, not all of it. Our house was paid off. I had my pension, Robert's savings, so I did what any mother would do. I gave David and Jessica $200,000 to buy their first home. "Mom, I can't accept this," David had said, tears in his eyes. "You can and you will," I told him. "Your father would have wanted you to have it. Build your life, build your family." Jessica hugged me so tight that day. "You're the most generous person I've ever met," she whispered. "I promise we'll make you proud." They bought a beautiful house in Lake Oswego. 4 bedrooms, big yard, perfect for the grandchildren I hoped would come. I helped them move in, bought them furniture, stocked their kitchen. I was so happy to see them settled. That's when things got strange. It started with the calls. Jessica would phone me at odd hours. Late at night, early morning. "Mom, I'm so sorry to bother you," she'd say, her voice trembling. "But I'm worried about David. He's been acting strange, forgetting things, getting confused. I think something might be wrong." I'd ask to speak to him, but she'd say he was sleeping, or out, or not feeling well. "I don't want to worry him," she'd explain. "You know how men are about doctors, but I think he needs help. Professional help." This went on for weeks. Every conversation, she'd have a new story. David forgot to pick her up from work. David left the stove on. David got lost driving home from a place he'd been 100 times. She sent me photos, burned pans, dented car fenders, bills he allegedly forgot to pay. "I'm scared, Mom," she'd sob. "What if it's early onset dementia? What if it's a tumor? He won't see a doctor. He says I'm overreacting, but I know my husband. Something is wrong." I was terrified. My son, my baby boy, sick? I called him immediately. He laughed it off. "Mom, I'm fine. I forgot to pick her up one time because I was in a meeting. The car thing was a minor fender bender. Everyone has those. Jessica's just being dramatic. But the calls kept coming. The stories kept piling up. And then came the medical bills. Jessica forwarded me statements from neurologists, psychiatrists, imaging centers, thousands of dollars. Insurance won't cover it, she explained. They're saying it's pre-existing. Mom, we can't afford this. The mortgage, the bills, and now this. I paid them. Of course I paid them. What kind of mother wouldn't? Looking back now, I can see it so clearly. But when you're in it, when it's your child's health, you don't think straight. You just act. The bills kept coming. 10,000, 20,000, 50,000. I emptied my savings account. I took out a home equity line of credit. Jessica would cry on the phone. I hate asking you for this. I hate it. But David needs the best care, and I can't lose him. I just can't. Neither could I. It all came to a head 6 months ago. Jessica called, hysterical. Mom, David's had a breakdown. He's in the hospital. They're saying he tried to hurt himself. They want to transfer him to a psychiatric facility, but our insurance won't cover it. It's $40,000. Mom, I don't know what to do. I can't lose him. Please. $40,000. It was everything I had left. The very last of it. But it was my son, my only child. I wired the money that same day. 2 weeks later, David showed up at my door. Alone. He looked tired but healthy. Definitely not like someone who'd been in a psychiatric facility. Mom, we need to talk, he said. We sat in the kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd fed him breakfast every morning of his childhood. He wouldn't look at me. There's no easy way to say this, he started. Jessica and I are getting divorced. I felt my heart stop. What? Why? Is it because of your illness? David, we'll get through this together. Mom, he cut me off. I'm not sick. I've never been sick. There was no breakdown, no hospital, no psychiatric facility. I stared at him. But the bills, the doctors. Jessica said, Jessica's been lying. His voice cracked. About everything. I just found out. She's been forging medical documents, creating fake bills. Mom, she's been stealing from you, from us. The room spun. I gripped the edge of the table. That can't be true. Why would she? Her boyfriend needed the money. The words hung in the air between us. Boyfriend. Her boyfriend. She's been seeing someone for over a year, David continued, his voice hollow. Some guy she met at the gym. He's got gambling debts, bad ones. She's been funneling your money to him. I only found out because I saw a text on her phone. When I confronted her, she admitted everything. I couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. How much? Everything you gave us after the wedding. All of it. It's gone. Mom, I'm so sorry. I had no idea. I swear to God, I had no idea. My son, my dear boy, sat at my kitchen table and cried. And all I could think was, I gave her everything, and she took it all. But here's the thing. I'm old, not stupid, and I didn't survive 68 years in this world by being naive. The next day, I told David I needed time to think. I told him to go back to Jessica, act normal, not let on that he'd told me anything. If she knows we know, she'll run, I said. Give me a week. I called my lawyer first. Then I called my accountant. Then I called someone I hadn't spoken to in 30 years. My nephew Jack, who works for the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. Aunt Maggie, he said when he heard my voice. Is everything okay? No, I told him. But it will be. I explained everything. Every wire transfer, every check, every bill I'd paid. Jack listened, and when I finished, he was quiet for a moment. Aunt Maggie, he said carefully, how much documentation do you have? All of it, I replied. Your Uncle Robert taught me to keep records of everything, every single transaction, email, text message. I have it all backed up to the cloud. Then we have her, he said simply. But I wanted more than just legal justice. I wanted her to feel what I felt, the betrayal, the loss, the shock of having everything ripped away. So I set a trap. I called Jessica. Sweet as honey. Sweetheart, I said. I've been thinking. David told me about the divorce. I know things are hard right now. Why don't you come stay with me for a few days? Give yourselves some space to think." "Oh, Mom," she said, and I could hear the relief in her voice. Probably thought she'd gotten away with it. "That's so kind of you. I'd love that." She moved into my guest room that Friday, brought her designer luggage, her expensive clothes, all bought with my money. I cooked her favorite meals. We watched movies. She cried on my shoulder about how hard marriage was, how David had changed, how she wasn't sure she loved him anymore. I nodded, sympathized, held her while she wept crocodile tears. On Tuesday night, I told her I was tired and went to bed early. I took my medication, brushed my teeth, put on my nightgown. Around midnight, I heard my bedroom door open. Jessica stood in the doorway. But she wasn't alone. There was a man behind her, tall, muscular, exactly the kind of guy you'd see at a gym. What's going on?" I asked, sitting up. "Change of plans, Mom," Jessica said. Her voice was different now, cold. No more sweetness, no more tears. "We need you to sign something." The man stepped forward and dropped a stack of papers on my bed. I recognized them immediately. Deed transfer documents. She wanted my house. "You're insane," I said. "I'm not signing anything." "Yes, you are," Jessica said calmly. She nodded to the man, and he grabbed my arm. Hard, because if you don't, Tyler here is going to make this very painful for you. We'll call 911. Tell them you fell, hit your head, tragic accident. Poor elderly woman, living alone, so unstable. By the time the ambulance gets here, you'll be so confused, so disoriented, you won't even know what you're signing. My heart was pounding, but I kept my voice steady. "So this was the plan all along? Marry my son, take my money, and now take my house?" "Pretty much," she shrugged. "David was just a means to an end. You were the real prize. Lonely old widow, desperate for family, throwing money around. You made it so easy." Tyler grabbed my hand, forced it toward the pen. "Sign, old lady." And that's when I said the words I'd been waiting to say. "Alexa, call 911. From the nightstand, my Echo Dot lit up blue. "Calling 911, the automated voice announced. Jessica's face went white. "What did you—" "Alexa, announce to all devices. Intruders in my bedroom." Throughout the house, every Echo speaker lit up and began broadcasting. "Intruders in bedroom. Intruders in bedroom." Tyler lunged for the Echo, but it was too late. My Ring cameras, my Nest doorbell, my Simply Safe system, everything I'd had installed the day Jessica moved in, they were all recording, all uploading to the cloud, all sending alerts to the security company. "Hello, this is 911. What's your emergency?" The operator's voice filled the room from the Echo. "This is Margaret Chen at 4782 Maple Street," I said clearly. "There are 2 people in my bedroom trying to force me to sign over my house. I need police immediately." Jessica and Tyler ran. I heard them thundering down the stairs, out the front door. They didn't get far. The police were already pulling up, lights flashing. The security company had sent them the live feed from my cameras. I sat in my bed, shaking but safe, and watched on my iPad as officers handcuffed Jessica and Tyler in my driveway. That was 6 months ago. The trial just ended last week. Jessica got 8 years for elder abuse, fraud, attempted coercion, and half a dozen other charges. Tyler got 10. Turns out he had priors for assault. The prosecutor used the recordings from my home, every conversation, every threat, everything. My nephew Jack's team traced every dollar. The fake medical bills, the forged documents, all of it. But here's my favorite part. Remember that house I bought them? The $200,000 house? It's in my son's name only. Jessica never bothered to get on the deed because she thought she'd have all my money and this house anyway. So David got the house. I got my money back, most of it, anyway, seized from Tyler's accounts. And Jessica got exactly what she deserved. David lives in that house now. He's dating someone new, a kind woman his own age who works as a teacher. She doesn't call me Mom. She calls me Margaret, and she means it when she says it's nice to see me. As for me, I'm still in my house, the one Robert built, the one Jessica tried to steal. I've got new locks, a new security system, and a much better understanding of who to trust. My neighbor asked me last week how I stayed so calm during the whole thing, how I managed to set up that trap, to plan everything so carefully. I smiled and told her the truth. Sweetheart, I didn't survive 68 years by being a helpless old lady. I survived by being smart enough to see the sharks coming and sharp enough to have bigger teeth. She laughed. Then she asked if I'd teach her how to use all those smart home devices. I told her I'd be happy to. You never know when you might need them. Sometimes at night, I sit in Robert's chair and think about that moment. Jessica standing in my bedroom, so confident, so sure she'd won. The look on her face when Alexa lit up, when she realized I'd been 3 steps ahead the whole time. People always underestimate older women. They think we're fragile, confused, easy targets. They forget that we've lived entire lifetimes. We've raised families, buried husbands, survived things they can't imagine. We've learned to be patient, to watch, to wait for exactly the right moment. Jessica learned that lesson the hard way. Last week, I got a letter from her. From prison. She wanted to apologize, to explain, to ask for forgiveness. I read it once, then I did something Robert would have appreciated. I bought a paper shredder. A really good one. Some people don't deserve forgiveness. Some people deserve to sit in a cell and think about what they tried to do to a woman who only ever showed them kindness. David apologized too, 1,000 times. I told him the same thing I'll tell anyone who asks. I don't blame him. He was fooled by someone who was very good at fooling people. The difference is, when he found out the truth, he did the right thing. He came to me. He helped me build the case. That's what family does. Real family. These days, I keep myself busy. I volunteer at the senior center, teaching other older folks about technology and safety, how to spot scams, how to protect themselves, how to document everything. I tell them, don't be paranoid, but don't be naive either, and trust your gut. My gut told me something was wrong with Jessica from the start. Those overly sweet compliments, the too tight hugs, the way she looked at my house like she was already planning where her furniture would go. I ignored it because I wanted David to be happy. I wanted to believe in the best in people. I'll never make that mistake again. But I'll also never stop being generous. Never stop helping people who genuinely need it. Never stop opening my heart to the possibility of good in the world. Because if I let Jessica turn me bitter and closed off, then she wins. And I'll be damned if I let that woman take anything else from me. So, I live my life. I tend my garden. I FaceTime with my real friends. I make sure my security system is updated and my cloud backups are current. I sleep well at night knowing that justice was served and that anyone else who tries to take advantage of poor old Margaret is in for the surprise of their life. Robert used to say, "Don't mistake kindness for weakness." I miss him every day, but I like to think he'd be proud of how I handled this, how I protected what we built together, how I made sure the bad guys didn't win. Sometimes David asks if I'm angry, if I'm hurt, if I ever think about all the time and money I lost. I tell him the truth. I'm not angry anymore. I was at first, furious, heartbroken, betrayed. But anger is exhausting, and I'm too old to waste energy on people who don't matter. What I am is grateful. Grateful I had the resources to fight back. Grateful I had the knowledge to protect myself. Grateful I had family who stood by me when it mattered. And grateful that I got to see Jessica's face when those handcuffs clicked shut. When she realized that the crazy old woman had outsmarted her from the very beginning. That memory? That's worth more than any money she stole. I keep the court documents in a safe in my closet. Sometimes I take them out and read through them. Not because I'm dwelling on the past, but because they remind me of something important. You're never too old to fight back. You're never too old to demand justice. You're never too old to protect yourself and the people you love. Jessica thought she was targeting an easy mark, a lonely widow with more money than sense. She thought wrong. And now, every night at 2 a.m., when I'm safe in my bed in my house, I think about her in her cell. I wonder if she thinks about that moment too. The moment the lights turned blue and her whole plan fell apart. I hope she does. I hope she thinks about it every single night. I hope she realizes that underestimating people, especially women who've lived long enough to know better, is the biggest mistake you can make. Because we're not just survivors. We're fighters, and we've got a lifetime of practice.